Well, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have a look at a couple of my saws. This was kind of an older build I've done for a buddy, Simple Man. A lot of you that have been around the channel for a long time will know who Simple Man is. I built this saw and ended up kind of trading them back out of it later on, but I've ran it very little. It's just kind of sat in the cabinet. It's an ms440. It's not a clone saw. It does have aftermarket plastic on it. That's kind of what I'm going to get into here today. Is you might hear the kettle back there ticking and going on. We've got some dye heating up, but we're going to have a look at this thing. I've got me a badge I think is going to work on it. This one, the plastic badge, it's a metal one, but looks like the plastic tabs are still in it, but we can get those out. We're going to dye the plastics, but mainly have a look at the saw. I ran it very little. Probably ran it more before I sent it to him than I did. And you can see the filter and ain't been ran hardly any. But I think this has even got an aftermarket tank. I could be wrong, but it seemed like the tank that was originally on it leaked or something. But that's what we're going to get into. I've got some black dye over in a pot. I'm going to go ahead and throw this in. From what I remember, this is a very, very high-strung build. Like it. He wanted a screamer, from what I remember, but it's been a long time. We may have a look at some things and see if maybe we can make it a little stronger than it is. Like I said, this has been better part of 4 years, if not over 4 years this thing was done. It was one of them deals. I told him, you know, if he decided to get rid of it, to let me know, and I ended up with it back. But this was a split cases full rebuild. Seemed like I got it here and was able to get it running, and it had some issues, some air leaks. I'll just tell you, those big humongous West Coast spikes, a lot of people love them, but I'm just not a fan. For what we do around here, just, you know, something, you know, that would have come OEM. I like the dogs that come on a lot of the older vintage saws. I may look around and see what I've got. Those big humongous spikes, I just ain't really ever been a fan of. I actually have a drawer full of them things over there where I've taken them off of saws. Now the saws, the spikes that come on them OEM, like the ones that come on a 66 mag, or the ones come on some of the 500s and stuff, I can handle those, but it's just big, oversized, like West Coast style dogs. I just ain't really been much of a fan of. I'll have to look into getting a badge for that, or maybe even just print something off. We may just throw it in separate and dye it black too, just because we can. And just because I've not ever done it, let's see where she's at as far as compression. Like I said, I know this thing had the squish dialed in on it, but I'm almost certain there was no combustion chamber, no squish band work. Would have just had squish dialed in. I would have done that by block sanding the base back then. Alright. Go wide open and see what we got. She has 155 psi. That's stockish, a little above stock, but I swear I'm thinking this thing has about 100 roof. Could even be higher. I don't even know that this would be in my book that I'm using right now, but we may just have a look at it here while we're dyeing plastic and see where the numbers are at on it. Okay guys, we're just going to go ahead and take the card box off too. I think I'm going to run the port map on this. Got the starter cover off. I've got to get those little plastic rivets that came out of the old tag off of it. I'm hoping I don't have to pull the cover completely apart to do so. I think I can run a little bitty drill bit through them and get them out of there. That's the plan anyway. But I think we're going to port map this thing, and if we can make it spicier, but you can look back through the channel. There's some videos on this thing. It's pretty dang spicy as is. So I'm thinking it has 100 roof on it, maybe higher. Looks good there. We're going to throw this into our pot of dye now. Alright guys, this is the other saw while I've got the pot of dye heated up. I'm going to throw this one into the mix, but we built this saw a while back. It's a 372 technically. I think it's 2165, 2166 J-Red cases it's built around. Bunch of aftermarket plastic, who cares? 9 times out of 10 you can't look at the plastic now and tell the difference. Some of it even has a part number on it, believe it or not. I've seen that. But, most people, you know, agree and say who cares on the plastic, but some of it just didn't take and dye right, mainly the top plastic. This looks okay, but I'm going to throw it in here anyway, and I gotta get the carb loose. Let's see. Gotta get the air filter off, I know that. I'm pretty sure I could take one of these apart probably all the way down to nothing with my eyes shut, and I'm not exaggerating at all. I've fooled with so many of them. I don't really care much for that decal anyway, so I'm going to yank it off of there and get it in the pot of dye. Because it just, I don't know, someone said it kind of looked like an earthworm. In one of the videos, it's kind of why I've not shown the saw anymore. Guys, so looking back, it was every bit of 4 years ago I built this saw. I think I have the exhaust roof set right where I'm pretty sure he told me to set it there. He wanted a screamer. If you look for some videos, and I may try to throw one in at the end on an end screen if I can find it. It does, it rips. Really fast cutting saw. 96 on the, it was actually like 95.7, 95.8, but if you're looking at a degree wheel, it's probably 96. 119 on the uppers, and 73.5 on the intake. These things, typically if you throw a whole lot of intake at them, in my experience, I've run them as far as 160 or an opening of 80, but as far as starting easy and running, you know, they don't like a whole lot of intake time. I mean, for a work saw, if it's every now and then firewood saw, something you're gonna play with it to get together or something, yeah, you can throw a shit ton of intake at them, but I think I'm gonna pull the cylinder off and have a look. I'm pretty sure there's room for improvement. Probably just do some machine work and have a look at the port work that's on it, and kind of go from there. But I'll pull the cylinder off and we'll have a look at it. I wasn't expecting to get into all of this with it, but kind of was too. And if I didn't mention, squish was like 26 thou, but I don't think there's any combustion chamber work. It's awful clean though. Awful clean, but it looks like there could be more to be done. Again, this was quite a ways back. A lot of stuff done here I wouldn't do now, like the way these lowers are opened up. It's not hurting a thing. You ain't grinding away enough to kill anything there, but the texture that's on them is just, it's almost polished. It seemed like there was a spell where I was doing that on everything, but again, this saw really strong, really fast, just kind of really high strung. I'm going to try to get it back where I can take it out and fall with it, so we'll see. Exhaust support looks good. With the intake, I would not do that now. I would not go in and open that much up now. It's super wide. My port and stall has changed quite a bit over the course of about 4 years. I would say over the course of the last 2.5 years it's changed a lot, but that happens. Nothing wrong with anything here, it just not what I would do now. Alright guys, the main thing, you can see the squish band in it's been cut now. I did go back over some of the port work. Like the lowers, they got a cat's tongue texture. I did mess with the uppers a little bit. I didn't do a lot, but did go back over the intake port. Tried to get the floor of it as flat as possible and put like a cat's tongue texture on it. And the exhaust support I didn't touch, so pulling the base gasket, it was one of those thick ones. It was almost 30 thousandths thick when I measured it, so should drop our exhaust roof a little bit. We do have one of the Duke's coated pop-up pistons, so that's probably the reason we were making the compression it was making. And this thing probably hadn't even been ran enough for the rings to seat, so you know, it might have pumped up like 165 or so. And again, this thing ran really strong. It was just a little high strung for my taste, so hopefully throwing some compression at it helps, and pulling the exhaust roof back down a little bit helps, so we'll just have to see. Alright guys, we have her back together, and I must say she is looking sharp. I did change out that big D handle. I'll put that on something else on a much larger saw. For this one, for what I'm using it for, it's just not needed, but plastic turned out really well. I did put a factory OE felling spike back on it, and I do have an ms440 tag for the top on its way. And again, this is an OEM saw, it's not a clone, it's the real deal. So next thing we're going to do, I guess, is I'll get her fired up and get her tuned in. And I think the only thing I've got laying here at the chain's a 20. I do have some chains and stuff coming for some saws. So I have a brand new 25-inch lightweight Stihl bar that I plan on running on this. But the main deal with it was to get it out and get it in the woods. But next thing you guys see will probably be it fired up. Well guys, this video is probably pretty long, but it may be about to get a little longer if I get into this discussion. This particular saw has just made me kind of stick my foot in my mouth on some porting theories. We've heard the term hog the hell out. You guys seen those transfers. I don't know how well the camera picked it up, but when I pulled the cylinder, and there was a spell there for probably over 2 years where every saw I got a hold of, I hogged the shit out of the transfers. Who's to say it was wrong? Who's to say it was right? But this saw made me kind of stick my foot in my mouth on that. I was not expecting this thing to pull that hard when I shoved it into that big piece of hickory and went pulling on the handlebar. And the chain's razor sharp, it's aggressive. That's wide oak in the wood splitter that I was cutting the cookies on. This thing's pulling through that like a laser as hard as I can push and pull on the saw. If that was some kind of pulp wood, like a real fast cutting chain, square ground, this thing would be nuts. But back to the transfers, for about probably the last 2.5 years, I've rarely ground on lower transfers on that design of cylinder, and I'm starting to think that maybe I left a little bit of power on the table. Maybe not. Maybe this thing, if the transfers wasn't touched, might be even stronger. But I just done a 440 a week ago. That saw ended up very strong. It was strong starting out, but it ended up with a very strong saw. This one does have a pop-up, and it has a much higher exhaust roof, much higher. Typically on a 70cc saw, I would never set a roof that high, or in the last 2 years on a work saw. The final number on that roof ended up being 97.5. That port is huge. It's widened, probably not to the max, but right near it. The lowers was hogged the hell out of. Let's see, has a pop-up piston. You guys see where I'm going. The uppers on it look good. I had a nice slope on those. They're sloped to where they would kind of blow down on top of the piston, if that makes sense. I barely touched the uppers, kind of liked them, just barely went back over them. The lowers, I even went back in and put a texture on them because I didn't like how smooth I'd left them originally 4 years ago. The intake, it was opened up pretty big. It wasn't hogged completely out, but it was a fairly large intake. I went back over that. I flattened the floor out on it. It was already widened out about to the max that I would want to widen one. It's probably getting close to the piston windows, honestly. But I did flatten the floor of it and took a little bit of timing out of there while I was doing so. And I don't know, kind of gave it that lung, kidney bean look, whatever you want to call it. I do that. I've done that for a long time. I don't go real crazy with it, but it's got that shape to it about every intake that I can do it on. Does it help? I don't know, but what I'm getting at is some of the things I've said toward other people, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've stuck my foot in my mouth, because this son of a bitch pulls. It pulls hard. That big piece of hickory does not get any harder than that. It's pulling through that piece of wide oak like it's pulp wood. So hell, I don't know. All I know is I've got a loop of chain coming, and I've got a new 25-inch lightweight up here, and I'm sticking it on that, and I'm gonna go fall trees with it, and that'll put it to the real test. But anyway, I dyed the plastic on that other saw. I'm thinking of doing a whole nother video on that. Maybe not. May just take it, set it back on the shelf, I don't know, but it doesn't have the earthworm look anymore. So And I think that's what somebody told me it looked like in the video, kind of looked like an earthworm. But anyway, with that said, thank you guys for watching, and if I've pissed you off about your hog to hell outlowers, hell, I'm sorry. I may start doing it again. I'm going to sure as hell experiment with it, that's for sure. I've got some saws over there that are prime candidates we can do a before and after test on that have cheapy cylinders on. If we fuck it up, who cares? Anyway, guys, y'all have a good one.